Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to talk about the classes and skills you can use to actually get going in POE 2. Now, these are just a rough guide for you, plus if there's any changes or anything, they might not be able to be worked in the exact same way. This is without knowing what we're going to know in like 2 days. Or whenever you're watching it. This is pre-launch of early access, so GGG could change things, could change numbers, could change slight mechanics or anything like that, so do check. But at the moment we should have a rough guide on how we're going to launch. They could balance it out depending on how everything works, so keep that in mind, and we'll get into all the different classes and skills you can use for those classes, and some ascendancies I recommend as we go. Now, we have the Ranger. What I went with was actually a lightning arrow based Ranger. Now, lightning arrow, lightning rod, and shock chain arrow will be our main skills. Lightning arrow with faster projectiles, multiple projectiles, conduction, coursing current, and lightning pen. So we're building up shocks with that. Our lightning rod, we're firing, it sticks in the ground. Anything that chains, it then shocks, well, doesn't shock things, but it fires out a charge to actually attack. And then we're using chain, AoE, and shock chance on the lightning rod. And then, because we're building up shocks, we can either cast on shock or just cast ourselves the shock chain arrow, which if you have a shocked enemy, it targets it first and then it will chain to every shocked enemy. So if we got a field of shock, it can chain up to 10 times, just, and then we want to try to just cover the field in that sort of stuff. So we got added lightning, overcharge. The fact that we can only do one support is a bit, which do we use for which skill? We can switch and swap and all that. So that's probably got more that you can add to it. Especially if you use cast on shock, you probably just use it as extra clearance. Then we use combat frenzy, which is a persistent skill, so we need our spirit for it, and we get it on our electrocution because we're not doing freeze or pinning. And then we can also use snipe, which gets us a frenzy charge on crit. So if we're not critting, we're not actually going to be using snipe because obviously that's completely useless to us. So lightning arrow will use the Deadeye, and the Deadeye is obviously going to move around, shoot, move, and pretty much stay out of combat and let the combat happen in front of it, around it, and it'll be a keep away sort of style. So that's what I suggest for the Ranger, a more keep away sort of style where everything's getting shocked or electrocuted in front of us and we're moving around and attacking it and just keeping distance. Now, the Monk. We're actually going to go toxic growth with the Monk. We are going to use Plague Bearer, which is a persistent skill. Also Herald of Plague. The Plague Bearer builds up toxic damage and then fires out chaos. Chaos damage with the Plague Bearer, and then the toxic growth, more duration, faster projectiles, wild shards for the AoE, 20% chance, 8 projectiles in a circle around us. AoE, withering touch. So we're going to pretty much be a monk, which is causing chaos. We're also going to take the Acolyte of Chelula. We're going to have a darkness shield. We're going to make sure we got chaos res. You could probably sort of mitigate damage to chaos with this ascendancy. Mana Leech is instant. Mana Leech also recovers ES We can also do the breach shards, which gives us life, damage, and mana gain breach shards on the ground. So as a monk, we are causing toxic damage. The darkness skills, all that, all play a part of keeping us safe. Plus, it's like chaos base. So we're playing into that. The other version you can go is full elemental, and the other ascendancy. You go lightning and cold, and just smack things and try to get ailments on them. But the darkness monk, we got toxic growth. Now these skills and everything, because we can only use one per character, you can swap them around whichever way you feel. There might be some that are missed, because obviously we are looking purely at what we believe will be in the game, or what we've been told has a good chance of being in the game. Numbers can change, so keep that in mind. But let me know what you think. Are you going to play the merc, the witch, the warrior, sorceress, ranger, or the monk? And which do you think will be the best? Which do you think will be probably the most unbalanced? Or which do you think will be just hands down, without any bugs, glitches, or anything, just the best? So, hasn't been as long as I thought it would, but I'm sure you're tired of my voice. Hit all those buttons, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye. Now, these are just a rough guide for you. Plus, if there's any changes or anything, they might not be able to be worked in the exact same way. This is without knowing what we're going to know in like 2 days, or whenever you're watching it. This is pre-launch of early access, so GGG could change things, could change numbers, could change slight mechanics or anything like that, so do check. But at the moment we should have a rough guide on how we're going to launch. They could balance it out depending on how everything works, so keep that in mind, and we'll get into all the different classes and skills you can use for those classes, and some ascendancies I recommend as we go.